Hello and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to sculpt some ghostly Halloween decor. The idea came from a Pinterest post I saw ages ago where somebody sculpted a ghostly figure emerging from a mirror. I think it was like a custom art piece, and I thought it was looking so cool that I actually wanted to recreate it just a little bit different. So I decided why not make this but with more cutesy looking ghosts and not as realistic, and that's what I'm doing today. So my base I'm going to start to sculpt with some Sculpting medium, and I want like a rippled effect out of the mirror, so I'm adding some wormy delays, and the base shape of the ghost is just this like rounded off like cylinder shape that I cut on an angle, so it would actually look like it's like emerging sideways, just so that when you look at it, it like looks back at you basically. And then to create the ripples, all I did was a lot of blending with my stylus just to blend in the edges of the ripples or the wormy deals to make the ripples. And this took actually quite a while, but I think in the end it was definitely worth it to work this long on this sculpt. Now it's not really a hard sculpt, it's just that it definitely takes a lot of time to blend things in and make things work. Of course my little ghostie needed some arms, so I shaped some cones and I just basically blended them in. I tried to make sure with both of my sculptures that I have no gaps between the arm and the character, because if there was a gap that would lead a tunnel for the silicone that I want to use, and that would basically make the silicone get stuck with the character. Unfortunately, I didn't manage that 100%, so this shape actually had a tiny little gap, but in the end I could just basically rip the silicone since I used the softer silicone, so it wasn't a problem. If it was a larger gap in the sculpture, it would probably mean that you have to somehow stretch and cut the silicone. It will work, but the edges might not actually meet back up again when you pour in resin and stuff, and they might leave some weird lines. So that's a thing to always think about when you actually sculpt things. And then for the eyes I just used my ball stylus, and for the mouth I used this kind of rounded shaped sculpting tool that I had lying around. And then I just go over it again with some detail ball styluses and all that, make sure there's no fingerprints left, and smooth off the surface a little bit more. And then for my second sculpture, the idea actually came why I made this sculpture. You can see kind of how the arms, if you like squint a little bit, look like fins, and I thought, why not actually make a creature with fins? So I decided, why not make a seal? Seals are adorable, and I don't know if ghost seals exist, but I thought, why not make them? Because it's a very cute idea. I guess any animal would actually work, as long as I said, there's no like gaps in between that the silicone could stuck in. I guess you could make anything from like a cat to a goldfish to, as I'm doing right now, a seal. And all I did was basically, instead of having the rounded arms, making like a flat leaf shape, or I guess fin shape, and then blending that in. And then for the snout, I'm just using like a triangle, blending that in. And then the eyes and the nose were basically the same as I did with the other ghost, except for that the nose was just a tinier ball stylus, and I like pulled when I made the holes, I pulled my ball stylus slightly upwards so it created the nose shape. Sadly my camera cut out, so I cannot show you all how I'm like specifically sculpting the nose, so I hope this description might help. But it was actually more simple than it looked, and the effect in the end definitely looked like I spent a long time sculpting this. But in the end, really the longest time, again, was blending out the waves. And then freshly out of the oven, I covered them with some matte nail polish, just to make sure that, first of all, I can like get the surface a bit more smooth, cover my like leftover fingerprints that I may have missed, and also because I think a matte look would actually be very nice in contrast if I wanted to glue this on like an actual mirror or glass. And then to make the mold, I just used some painters tape on some of these like soft, I guess they're one-time plastic cups. I've used these specific ones actually like 2 times before for molds, so they're absolutely reusable since they're soft plastic. I only had to like ever throw out one because the rim got unsturdy and broke. But yeah, these are very handy for making reusable molds, especially the softer type. So as long as the object fits in there. Now, of course, more custom mold casings are always helpful, because that means you definitely save on silicone, but these weren't too large. I didn't use too much silicone, so I wasn't really worried about that. And after 24 hours, the silicone was cured and I could just peel off the tape and trim off the flushing. There wasn't too much, luckily. I tried to keep the bases flat in directly sculpting them on the tiny trays that can go in the oven. There was just some little flushing that I just went around with a knife. The more things you have to trim off the sides, the more likely is that you do a rough trim job, or that the blade doesn't cut as smooth and that the resin might actually get stuck. It's like comparable when you have like an old mold that has like a rip and the resin gets stuck. Like you could still probably use it for a while, it's just not as pleasant. So I always try to have a flat base to work from, or just do a 2-part mold that like you cast one half off and then cast the other half off with another piece of silicone, so you actually create an artificial flat part. And then all I did was mix up some 1:1 resin, waited for the bubbles to rise, popped them with a lighter, and then carefully filled it in to make sure that I have no air pockets in my mold. And as always, here's a bonus demolding of some leftover pour stuff. I really like to use this diamond because it can fill a lot of different resins, and I love the effect it gives, especially with this one. I did a white pour at some point, and then I did a mixed cut pour, and the effect of both of them together is just really stunning. I think I really love this effect, and maybe you may use this in different projects in the future. And then I just made a basic paint palette, and of course we have our ghosties. The matte effect definitely worked out. There's some like more uneven spots, I guess, where like the nail varnish didn't really like dry evenly, or the surface just was too different. But I think the effect is really working out. And then all I did was add some clear tape. This is like stronger double-sided tape. I don't know where I got it from, I had it in my stash, but it worked out perfectly for this project. All I had to do is add a couple of strips and then put my sculptures in the desired places. In this case, I wanted to put one on my mirror and one on one of these like IKEA pegboard hangers, because I thought it was just a really neat decoration. And I have to say, I think they definitely turned out gorgeous. Now, of course, this decoration will last. I will not take it off. Like on the mirror, I think over time it would strain the mirror too much, and I actually like used a mirror-specific tape for that later, because the tape I used didn't actually hold up that well on the mirror. The one on the like IKEA pen holder thing is still fine. But for the mirror one, I in the end used mirror tape just to make sure that it sticks. Just a flat version. Now, I always have to make sure that either you have something removable, like a removable tape if you have that's strong enough, or just make sure that you glue it on properly, that it doesn't fall off and you keep it forever. I actually really love Halloween, so I don't mind keeping them on my mirror all year round, and I think the ghostie turned out pretty adorable, so I really am happy every time I look in my mirror and see the little ghostie in the corner of it. Let me know in the comments down below what you thought of this project and which creatures you would actually sculpt into these kind of ghostly decorations. Of course, things like the seal I don't actually have to cast as a ghost. I can just color it and it will look like a normal seal coming out of like water, or like a water portal if you make it on the wall. And of course another thing you can do with these is just add a magnetic backing and like make it look like they come from your fridge or something like that, or just as a decoration for like holding post-it notes. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed my project. I certainly had a lot of fun making these and I absolutely adore these decorations. I am super happy with how the water effect turned out in the resin. I had my worries because I wasn't sure if the waves would actually look like waves, but seeing how the resin has the like ripply effect of like light shining on the water, it definitely worked out super well. That's all for this week. I hope you have a great day. Bye bye!